ending AIDS is feasible. With the science, with what I see of the science, with the drugs that are there, with our insight into the populations that are affected, I think it is feasible. But there are some huge structural issues which are there, which, for example, would stop us from ending the epidemic until we address them. Okay, these issues are not necessarily scientific; they are structural laws. Laws like those which criminalize homosexuality, those which criminalize sex workers, those which criminalize injection drug use, which stop then the application of the scientific concepts which we have, which we are seeing in the conference, to the populations which need them. Uganda has had an HIV epidemic which has sort of plateaued at 7% of the adult population. Now, that means that people are still getting infected. Actually, more people are getting infected than are being put on HIV drugs. Okay, so, and because of the problems with the health system and the delivery of drugs, we still have a big issue there. So it does seem possible that we can end the epidemic. But there are some issues which we have to kind of address, and urgently.
Why is the homophobia so strong in Uganda?
Very tough question. I think it is a confluence of many issues. Yes, there is background homophobia, which is there. Uganda has tended also to have quite a big influx of influence from the West, especially from America, the US, mainly missionaries, preachers who are on the right side of American politics and thus anti-gay, and they kind of export that, bring that view to Ugandans. Ugandans are very religious, and they tend to think that because they are religious, they cannot accept homosexuality, and also the fact that gay people in Uganda are also a political scapegoat, an easy political scapegoat.
What can be done against the homophobia?
Well, if I was in the politics of the country, and for example, I'm a doctor in the politics of the country, I would say let us stop the nonsense about scapegoating LGBT people, because it works against the interests of the whole of the country in HIV prevention. Okay, I would say. I mean, we have neighbors, Kenya, for example, which has the same laws currently on the books, which are the same because we are former British colonies, okay? Similar to Tanzania. But in Uganda, we have tended to be more homophobic and less likely to tackle these groups, the LGBT groups, the men who have sex with men groups. Whereas in Kenya, with the same laws, they are still able to tackle them, to make sure that there is HIV prevention in those countries, and the HIV prevention and care in those countries. Now, we are not doing it in Uganda because we say because of the laws, but that is an excuse. Okay, speaking from the point of fact that HIV is a big issue in the country, that we still have a generalized epidemic, that still more people are getting infected, that we have these groups which have actually documented higher rates of HIV than the rest of the general population. I think we better put aside our high moral horse and just get down off it and get down onto the ground to do the dirty work of HIV prevention, because it is necessary.
For you as a person, is it difficult to be gay in Uganda?
Yes, it is difficult to be gay in Uganda. I mean, it's a matter of fact that there is a lot of background homophobia. you're going to church, you're going to mosque, and you hear all these things about the dirty, bad gay people we are supposed to be. You go to, you hear on the airwaves about a minister wanting to close an LGBT clinic, wanting to put LGBT people in prison just because they are meeting, talking about HIV. So it is difficult. It is difficult. For a doctor, it is difficult to access people, to tell them the truth about the fact that they have a high risk of HIV. It's difficult to tell them that actually this is a problem when all that they're hearing about is HIV within the heterosexual community. Okay, they see HIV prevention posters, they see a man and a woman, and they believe that for them they are invulnerable to HIV because they do not have sex with women, or they do not have sex with men.
Is it times when you are afraid?
Yes, there are many times that I've been afraid. There have been incidences when there are demonstrations against homosexuals. Okay, there are demonstrations where you see, I mean, a whole town turning out to follow a preacher who is having a march against homosexuality. Those are times when you can be really afraid. There were times when we were told that that we are going to be arrested. I mean, those are times that you can really be afraid. You cannot be out and open as a gay Ugandan. Okay, you are going to have too much. You are going to have too much against you. Okay, so it is not easy at all. It is not easy.
But you are open.
Yes, I am open, and but it has been a gradual process. I don't think I've ever been as open as I am now. Okay, and okay, over the years, people have come to question my sexuality because I was openly talking about the link between HIV and men who have sex with men. That has made me open, and also I've tended to write articles, and I've tended to argue the view that sex is sex and HIV is transmitted through sex. So I've kind of tried to use my standing as a medical doctor to push the view that we need to tackle this problem. So yes, that has kind of cushioned my standing, but at the same time openly coming out that I'm gay, no, I've just done that. I've just really done that. And I'm moving to South Africa because my boyfriend is there, and well, at least I can live a life openly and thankfully without having to fear being hit on in Uganda.
The political leadership in Uganda right now, are they doing something to curb the homophobia, or are they going along the stream?
They are leading the homophobia. They are leading the homophobia. I mean, talk about the anti-homosexuality bill, which is currently in Parliament. That is a piece of legislation which was written by one of he's the deputy chief whip now for the ruling party in the Parliament. It was written by him. It has support of parliamentarians. So I would say they are leading the homophobia.
What happens if you go on Kampala street and holding your boyfriend in the hand?
Well, okay, culturally we can hold hands, yeah. But showing that you are gay, you risk being killed.
Killed?
Yeah, you risk being killed. I mean, that is a matter of fact. You cannot show that you are gay openly in Uganda.
What do you expect from the international community to support your struggle?
What I expect is, in part, two things. A reminder to the government in Uganda that they have obligations to their citizens, whatever their sexuality. A reminder that when doing HIV prevention, actually these communities matter. A reminder that when funding is coming in, for example, from PEPFAR and the Global Fund, a reminder that actually they should be putting the money where prevention matters most, that is with sex workers and partners of sex workers and men who have sex with men, because that is when we can actually deal with the epidemic in the country. These are the structural hindrances which stop us from actually ending the epidemic. We can end the epidemic, but not when sex workers, not when men who have sex with men are actually excluded from HIV prevention in the country, when they are pariahs. That is not possible, because we are going to again and again have a high rate of HIV amongst those groups. Those groups are going to are part of the sexual networks within the country. That is always going to be true. And if we want to end the epidemic, then we have to deal with the epidemic amongst those most at-risk populations.
There is a DC declaration.
Yes.
Do you think that people should sign it?
I think they should definitely sign. I mean, that is the kind of global initiative which helps to put pressure on governments. That is the kind of it unites the individuals, it unites NGOs, it unites researchers, it unites everybody around specific, it unites them around specific needs towards a specific goal. We want to end AIDS. So if we want to do that, then let's follow the science, because we have the tools. We have the tools, but the tools are having a problem. I've just been reading about MSM in the Lancet supplement. We do have the knowledge, but applying it is a different thing. We do have the constraints. I mean, Uganda for the last 30 years of the epidemic has not dealt with HIV amongst men who have sex with men. Okay, just about a month ago, it was known that a group in Uganda has opened up a clinic for LGBT. And then comes out a minister, a government minister, who says this clinic is going to promote homosexuality. I mean, that is the kind of ignorance and kind of structural problem. This is a clinic to deal with people who have problems, citizens of the country. Now, you as a government who has not actually put in any funding to this clinic to act as a block, because you believe that homosexuality is a disease that is spread, then you are the structural block. Okay. At the same time, doctors were asked, Ugandan doctors, that do you think this clinic is necessary? And to them, it was not necessary. And their reason was, we do not discriminate because we do not ask patients about their sexuality. In actual fact, that shows their ignorance, because for a doctor to sit with a patient and be able to counsel you about your HIV prevention needs, I need to know that your sexual practices. Okay, so if you're going to talk to a gay person, like you're talking to a heterosexual person, then you're missing the point. You're going to advise him to use condoms, while he actually needs condoms and water-based lubricant. Okay, you're going to advise him to get married and stick to his partner, when in actual fact he cannot get married in the country. Okay, you're going to advise him to be faithful or to abstain, and he will think in his mind, I abstain till when? Okay, because he cannot get married. That is the kind of problem, structural issues that are there. We need to address them. We need to come out, know that we can end the epidemic because we have the tools now. Okay, more research is ongoing, which is a good thing, but then we have structural issues which have been there since the beginning of the epidemic, and until we face them, we cannot end the epidemic.
Very good. Finally, Are you optimistic when you think about the homophobic situation? Is it possible to change?
Well, I like the quote from Nelson Mandela. Everybody thinks it is impossible until it is done. Okay. Where we are at the moment, 5 years ago, there was no visible gay community in Uganda. Right now, the community is there, and they know about HIV. They teach each other about HIV. They know about their rights. They know that they need to fight to have the right to set up a clinic, to do HIV prevention amongst the community. I am optimistic. I mean, I'm a human being, and I think we live with hope.